Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yo, Necromancy for Kids. What's up? How's it going? Just giving it like, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes before I start doing any of this. Just give time for people to come in. Earache. Oh, shit. Hope it's not a ear infection. Because you live in Europe, right? Oh, shit. It's a different time where I'm at. Let's not spill water all over the place. Oh, no. I don't know why I thought you were in Europe. Huh. Ugh. U.S. It's falling apart, tell ya. I wish I could move to Europe or Japan. I've thought about doing one of those, like, Japan teaching gigs where they, like, fly you out there and, you know, teach for a bit. I could do that. I mean, I have a remote job, so I could technically work wherever I wanted to. Technically, I don't even have insurance right now, because, state things, but I will get insurance again eventually. I'm just dealing with losing a lot of money by moving situation. The complex wants to kind of screw me over, but that's fine, I guess. Coffee helps. Yeah, luckily I'm in good health, so I don't need any insurance. And the only thing I do currently is chiropractor, which my insurance doesn't even, my previous insurance didn't even cover. So I'll be fine. I'm usually in good health. I don't get sick often. It's pretty rare, actually. I have had an ear infection twice, though. Actually, in the span of the last 6 years. I know the first time, I think, because, like, water got in my ear. Maybe from, like, the shower or something. I don't know where the second time came from. But It's such a weird feeling, like when you finally take the meds and you just like and it pops, and you're like, I can hear. Like that's always a weird feeling. So hopefully it's nothing bad. I find I get a lot of headaches often. Yeah, I think we'll hit 10 minutes for the stream, and then I'll start ranking the DM era cover cards. This idea I had from last week. Probably do a lot more kind of these type of streams for a bit in the future. Do like DM era rituals or fusions. Okay, so it just hurts. Were you maybe just sleeping on it weird? I'm not a doctor, but I can say I worked at a cardiologist for 6.5 years. I guess I've had my ear hurt. Maybe you just like slept on it weird. Maybe you like folded it over or something. Because if you can hear out it fine, then it's probably not something like inside the ear. It could just be like a cartilage thing. Got my water and my coffee. I'm all set. Yeah, I really liked last week's stream. How that turned out. It was much longer than I was anticipating. Killed my voice for like almost a week, so hopefully this. I don't think this won't take quite as long. That's another fun concept. Reason to talk about a weird assortment of cards. If anyone wants to, feel free to share the stream out. I share it on my Discord, but that's about it. Burpee. Had kind of a big dinner. Yeah, man, you gotta have a lot of water. I always have like a whole thing of water before I do any of my recordings. I watched that Misconceptions. I'm pretty sure I did. Doesn't come to the top of my head. I don't typically watch like big YouTubers or anything. I usually watch like, you know, the smaller ones. Let's see. When did you make that Misconceptions video? What? Oh, there it is. Yeah, I did watch it. Year ago. Man. Yeah, I definitely want to support the smaller channels. Like with the bigger channels, it's you get typically a thing where it's more modernized stuff, a lot of like market watches, that things as just it's too makes me too antsy, too like jumpy on the trying to buy and invest in things, and it's better to save money just watching smaller people. Also, you get a lot more spicy stuff, a lot more like homegrown stuff. Cause that's kind of the way it is with retro Yugi tubers. That unless you're like a one that does like sealed content or anime oriented stuff, not so much on like the sides of formats. There's like a few exceptions, like that are there, and they're still small channels, but things like Goat format and Edison, so comparatively, which is such a kind of a weird topic. Yeah, I shared out JDZ's recent video today, that turbo thing. Funny guy, love him. I kind of wish we collaborated again. That'd be fun. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing to think about how a lot of people complain about like new Yugioh and people leaving modern Yu-Gi-Oh to go to past formats, and I totally get it. I mean, my whole channel's kind of based on that. But I think people underestimate just how popular Yu-Gi-Oh still is. Like they're still making a lot of money, and modern game is still vastly popular because that's just where the streams are at. Oh, yeah, JDZ is he's the heart and soul of Goat format, and he's not a bad duelist either. I mean, he's top stuff, local stuff. So hopefully, all those skits and stuff can help. I mean, he definitely has a good presence when it comes to like the streams, like the tournaments they do, for sure. Like a lot of people watch it, like will keep watching just because he's on it. Yeah, Yugi cards are they can still get bought out. I mean, shit, if you want to find like an affordable, like, you can't really find a cheap Battle City box anymore. Like you just gotta get all the singles, and like, really the best investments you can get are like decks and booster packs. Like those things just contain value. Like kind of well, I won't say regardless of the pack, but like a lot of packs. You just get a couple of those, hold on for them for a few years, and they just sealed shit, man. I don't get it personally because it's like you're supposed to play with the cards. That's why I don't usually when I buy stuff, unless there's a significant difference, or unless there's unless rewind that, unless there's an insignificant difference, I'll usually get lightly played stuff. Honestly. Can we get this to 5 likes? No, speaking of goat format, they just hearted my comment on his JDZ's Turbo Player video. Cause he has such a nice looking place. I am like so into like interior design. I'm not like a designer or anything. I'm aside from like my own channel, but I watch this stuff. I'm like I'm the kind of guy who would complain to my parents like, oh, why are you watching HGTV? And then I watch HGTV and think, oh damn, those countertops sure do look really cool. Like I'm excited when I get my own place, especially recently. A lot of moving plans and stuff. Yeah, I think I don't know which video it was, but when I was talking about Cyber Dark Impact, a lot of people consider that like the worst set of all time. But you go back and look at it, it's like, yeah, Cyber Dark suck, but there's a lot of good cards in it. I don't know if I consider that the worst set. I mean, I'd have to really look into the topic of it. No, we're not doing release. Well, I mean, we could go by release order. So what's up, Bill Boreas? I think this just alphabetizes it. Plus, if this was release order, well, you'd go like not quite at the end. Be something like Pharaoh Servant, Labyrinth of Nightmare, Legacy of Darkness, Pharaonic Guardian, Magician's Force, Dark Crisis. There's Demok. Like Invasion of Chaos. Ancient Sanctuary. Oh, I forgot about Magic Ruler. After Ancient Sanctuary was Soul of the Duelist and the Rise of Destiny. And then no problem. Honestly, I test myself all the time. You have no idea how long it took me to get Labyrinth of Nightmare and Legacy Darkness names in order because they just sound very similar to me. And I still have trouble with Soul of the Duelist and Rise of Destiny. And actually, you may wonder like why is Deck Devastation virus here? Well, actually, Deck Devastation virus is in the background of Flaming Eternity. Many people don't know that. If you look at the pack, it's like right behind Nephthys. Yeah, right. Like I considered making a whole video on Cyberdark Impact when I was going through my history series. I was like, I had that set in mind. Like, okay, I can make a whole video on that, but just at the point it released, it didn't really make sense to have that as like a solo video. I think the only one, now I could still technically do that, because the only two I ever went back to was, Legend of Blue Eyes. Just focus on like the first set, because I didn't really focus too much on like LOB per se, more like Yugi Kaiba format, and then Pharaonic Guardian, which I didn't like discuss too much in the Yada video, because I wanted to do a video on that one because that's my favorite set. So I can always go back and do something on Cyberdark Impact. I mean, I've been doing a lot of like supplementary videos instead of going back and doing history videos and like prior timeline stuff, so I can just keep it going forward. Because man, I will say I think the DM era of my history videos could have been better in a lot of ways, both graphically and lengthwise. But that's just how it happens as I continue on the series, which is why I'm doing all those like supplementary stuff. And the goal eventually is to write a book, which it's more something I say than necessarily do. Let's get this to 5 likes. Let's start at 5 likes, and we'll start the list. Can we get to that? Because I am primed, locked, and ready to go. Or if you hit 20 minutes, I'll give you like 3 more minutes. Yeah, especially some of like my deck list videos when I did more of those too. I was like, that was terrible. Like my first Magic Ruler video I did on like Magic format was terrible. Which I keep reminding me, I need to hit up Jazz for something. He runs Format Library, right? But yeah, my first Magic Ruler format video I did. I look at the decks, I'm like, that's terrible. Much better in the follow-up one. And even some other ones, like my Imperial format video, when I put like a machine deck in there, like not long after, I made a much better machine deck that's like way less gimmicky. Not that machine decks are really viable, but that's just kind of the problem of trying to make stuff. I don't want to spend too much time on something either. But I am taking more time to make videos longer now, which is why I don't quite have as many uploads. Also, because of my whole moving situation, making this whole month kind of chaotic. I have plenty of stuff in the pipeline to save, especially if I go like every other week for uploads. I should be good, though I do need to start working on the next Yu-Gi-Oh! History. Oh, hell yeah, we're at 5 likes. Okay. So let's start with Blue Eyes White Dragon, the cover card of Legend of the Blue Eyes White Dragon. Where does he go? I believe we had him in B in the secret rare tier list. Do we keep them in the same tiers they were before? Because we can knock out a couple of them if that's the case. B for Blue Eyes. I feel like that's probably... Like, I don't remember where we had all of them at. Like, I think B-Skull. B-Skull was a D tier in the last list. Going off the same criteria where it's strictly TCG, not OCG or speed duels or rush duels, where Blue Eyes is good, not only for high attack for a vanilla monster, but he is typically playable in some capacity historically. He does have the Blue Eyes deck. Black Soul doesn't really have anything going for it. Like, there's a jank deck in Critter format in the TCG. That's about it as far as his playability goes. Yeah, I want to make it work. I do have a fun Critter format fusion deck that runs. I think it might be 2/2 Skull and Red Eyes, and then Thunder Dragon. So you can use polymerization for twin-headed Thunder Dragon as well. But fusion decks are so glass cannon, especially in a format where your opponent can just set a multitude of monsters to get them whatever they want, plus other cards like Mirror Force and Fissure and Raigeki and Dark Hole, all these things being so prevalent. And by the time you get better fusion monsters next year, Last Warrior from Another Planet, in DM format alone, Master of Oz. It's like you'd rather play that, Thousand Eyes Restrict. Like, so many just better fusion options. Like, if you're going beatdown, you want to do like dragons or something, like you get King Dragoon, might as well play that. So then moving on to Magic Ruler, Spell Ruler, whichever cup of tea you prefer. Relinquished. Relinquished is a good card, I would say. I could see B or C tier. The 1-star is really good for a ritual monster. He's good for like sucking up cards. It's a pretty good ritual deck in the DM era. Like, it's not a tier 1 deck, but it's, it can be a solid rogue option if your opponent isn't prepared for it. And with Sinister Serpent, like, that's all the resource you really need. Pegasus for Joey decks. Yeah. I was so hyped when those decks came out. I was really hyped. I believe... I know... I think I... which one did I have? I think I had the Pegasus one. I think I recall getting the Pegasus one. I think I got it at a GameStop, of all places. Or was it GameStop then, or was it Funkoland? I don't know what it was called. I know we had a Funkoland and we had a Babbage's. Eventually they became GameStop. I kind of want to... Oh, that's a good friend giving you the cards. I gave all my cards away to a neighbor in like 2007 or something. I do regret it, but what are you gonna do? I feel like I had a Joey at 1.2. Maybe I got one for my birthday. And I got the Pegasus one at a different time. But I think the first one I got was Pegasus, because I think I had like the choice when we were driving, and it's like, how can you not get Toon World, right? After seeing the anime and everything, and it comes with Relinquished. Like, it just has a better sound of cards. Like, yeah, there's Joey with Red Eyes and stuff, but it's just not the same. So where do we put Relinquished then? I'm kind of leaning towards B. Just in comparison to a lot of the other cards that we're going to have on this list. Like, he's not as good as Blue Eyes. Like, I'm thinking here might be a good spot for Relinquished. I feel like I should have my like webcam over here because the chat's over here. So when I'm looking this way, I'm looking at y'all. Maybe that's something I should do. Maybe. I don't know. A. Well, I'm definitely putting Thousand Eyes Restrict in A, though. That's the thing. And I can't say Relinquish. Yeah, if you're looking at GOAT format, sure. It's better than Blue Eyes. But Blue Eyes also has the 2016 World Championships. It has other uses in like Dragon decks in general. Just being like a high attack 8-star monster. You can use it for like ritual fodder. You can use it for like a lot of things. And the ritual deck is very. You have to use a lot of resources for it. And you really have to get the ball rolling on it. Like, it's definitely, I think, pretty solid. I think B tier. Like, Thousand Eyes Restrict, a solid A tier. Like, yeah, it wasn't great when it first came out. It wasn't really play for quite a long time. Like, when it did, though, like, when people got, like, actual good access to it with cards like Metamorphosis and Instant Fusion, like, it's good to suck up a just to get a free suck and also just stun the field. Like, being able to stun the field is more useful than the burn damage you can get with Relinquished. It's not something you necessarily need to, like, build a deck around. Like, I mean, yeah, you sort of have Go Control with it, but even, like, that was also a top-tier deck, historically. So I think... We also have to keep in mind, again, like all the cards on this list, which is probably going to affect some of the balancing a little bit. Like, I don't think there's going to be too many A tiers. But the next card we have, Labyrinth of Nightmare, Mask of Restrict. So, must have been 2004. I was at a tournament, a local tournament, and I traded my Mirror Force for Master Restrict, and that's one of like my biggest Yu-Gi-Oh regrets. I don't know why I did that. I was a dumb kid. I shouldn't have done that. I was so dumb. It's not like I was facing Monarchs or anything. I was just playing like a dumb beatdown deck. Don't remember what I lost against. I kind of want to put this in C tier. Like, it's not great, but it is just a generic Floodgate card. It does completely stop tribute summonings, like Monarchs, things of the sort. Like, it has seen play in side decks. Not often, but it's certainly better than B-Skull, right? Yeah, that is interesting. That's a good point, Bill Boreas. There's a couple of traps. 3 if you're being generous, like I am. It is weird that there is no spell for Spell Ruler. Like, that would have been the set. But how can you not put Relinquished on it? I don't even know what other magic card you would add. Like Delinquent Duo, maybe? Rush Recklessly. But it's also a ritual, so I get it. When I tried out Edison, I played it on the site and realized it negated my own Stardust. Oh, does it stop all tributes, not just tribute summons? No matter what the situation. Yeah, just as a tribute. Damn. Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's a total Floodgate. I've been getting to Edison lately, ever since I did my video on it, which I was excited about when I was making, because I'm like, oh, I can better understand of like Edison and whatnot. And the one thing I hate about Edison is the time period it's at, because so many, and a lot of people are completely aware of this, so many cards from that era have barely been reprinted. So a lot of things are just inherently expensive, and it sucks. It sucks that Konami can't release like. It sucks that they can't support Time Wizard formats more, and I almost want to make a video on this where like they haven't supported it more in regards to releasing sets. Like yeah, they're doing that 25th anniversary thing, but I don't think that has really much to do about it. It's not like releasing like say Pokemon does with their generation things. Um, you're releasing like a few decks or like some big like Yugi's World kind of set, but for like Edison or Goat format or Perfect Circle, something like that would be so nice to have. Some Dark Beginning kind of thing, you know. You couldn't play it just because of the cards are so expensive. There are, I suppose there are budget options and stuff you get. I know a lot of people also like to play max rarity stuff, but there are some cards like Junk Archer or Absolute Zero that are crazy expensive. Or Absolute Zero isn't crazy expensive, but it's still way more expensive than it needs to be. Or even like Dimensional Alchemist got a Speed Duels reprint. That's still like cards more pricey than it needs to be. Like they're finally reprinting Totem Dragon, and that's not even a, you know, it's it's not one of the key staples. But I do love though just all the cards you can use, because it does feel like a good middle ground between DM era Yu-Gi-Oh and kind of modern Yu-Gi-Oh, where it does have that more modern play style to it, but you can still use a lot of the older cards. Oh, completely outclassed. Yeah, that is fair. So last night, I might post this on my Discord. I was trying to make an Armed Dragon deck in Edison, which I didn't see anyone make. Because I've always loved Armed Dragon level 10, and I kind of wish, or at least I'm curious what it would be like in GOAT format. So I was trying to make a deck in Edison. Like I'm like, yeah, it's such a weird way to build it, because like you got all these cards you can use that could make it better. Recursion tools like Twin-Headed Behemoth, Totem Dragon, Treeborn Frog to just kind of run things like level 5 more so. But then it's like, well, I mean, you're not going to beat Light Sworns or Quick Draw Plant. So I definitely get what you're talking about. Like Go format, you don't need to make as much. It's a trade off. You don't need to make as much sacrifices in GOAT format decks, but you do technically get more creative inputs with a much bigger card pool in Edison. So I definitely see why people like it, for sure. Like that and GOAT. Like more so than any other format, like Yugi Kaiba, Critter, Perfect Circle. I do wish Perfect Circle got a little bit more love just so we had that one big GX era. And honestly, it is still surprising that Dueling Book hasn't added an Edison tier yet. I thought they were going to. I don't know what the deal with that is. Like I've been kind of working on like an Ancient Gear Machina deck when like Machinas are crazy. Like they're definitely, people say like, oh, there's, it's way more versatility stuff, or what's the word? Way more like versatile decks than GOAT. But then you look at some of the decks and you're like, well, Machinas are really good. Frogs, Diva decks like Diva Zombie, Diva Hero. Like there's definitely like tiers in it. I don't know if it's quite like Chaos Turbo kind of thing, but there's definitely a distinction. The cream rises to the top. Having to mark all the cards as Edison and having the erratas. Yeah, that's another thing I kind of wish they did include in Dueling Book is have actual erratas as cards that aren't custom cards. Because EDO Pro has that. You can filter out by certain formats they have on there, like GOAT format, which is really nice. Because it's annoying when I'm playing with a friend and he doesn't really know the errata, so I have to explain to him. All right, Ring of Destruction, Future Fusion, and this also goes for Goat too. Yeah, Ring of Destruction, Sandgan. These cards have a different effect than it should be. And it's like, yeah, I can tell him that, but not like he's necessarily going to necessarily remember it, which makes it annoying when he could have had a different strategy. Yeah, well, I think I mean they just need to go about it one format at a time. Where I think Edison is popular enough. Like Edison and Goat are definitely like they already added Goat. They already started it. And I think Edison is definitely popular enough where they are having events, side events at YCSs. I think at that point you kind of have to do that. Like I'd be fine if they did a thing where it's maybe one format per era. So that, Goat, Perfect Circle, Edison. Yeah. And there's only going to be like so much. So many popular formats. Like I feel like again, like one per era is reasonable. Even if they just had Edison and Goat, like I think Edison is popular enough where they could justify it. In an ideal world, also I probably shouldn't drink all this coffee. I'm gonna be up all night. It's like a bourbon coffee. In an ideal world, there would be some simulator where you could filter out per format. Like a format library had their own dueling system. Yo, Charles Wolfgang, what's up? If cards were marked with release date and death date for erratas, could make doing pre-release easier? Sorry, having a little fun trying to figure out how these work. Yeah, if they erratas is such a tricky thing in Yu-Gi-Oh. Like it's definitely a should they, shouldn't they kind of thing, and like how does it work if they reprint cards? Like I don't see that happening unless for whatever reason they do a speed duels thing, right? Where they release like a Time Wizard set. But then they would have to release all, like Necromancy is saying, they would have to release all the cards for it to be playable. Which is tricky. Like, there's not really a good way to go about it. You just kind of have to know. Like, I know, what was the Yu-Gi-Oh channel? They don't upload anymore. It used to be Team Carrot Cake. I think it was like Yugioh anime games or something like that. It was this like a small channel that did a lot of character themed duels. I don't know if any of y'all know what I'm talking about. They would put stickers on their sleeves for like anime erratas. So when you're watching it, or I guess for them too, you would know what the erratas are. That could be a thing like if you're playing with a friend or something. Obviously, you wouldn't be doing that in a tournament. But it's just something casually to think about. But I don't think Konami could ever like reprint old erratas unless they turn the cards back to what they were, which defeats the whole purpose of errating them. Which goes into the question of should they have done that in the first place, as opposed to just making a retrain of the card. But I don't know if they want to keep something like Sandgan or Chaos Emperor Dragon on the list forever kind of deal either. Yeah, I think ultimately they shouldn't have had done that because like that is like the card, and it just makes it more confusing for people. But I can see them wanting to reprint the card and trying to get it in like in a modern sense. Bad, wrong, fun. What's up? Last turn has to be higher up there. There's strategy built around here. Where does last turn go? That's true, but I think I don't know if it was it an errata or was it more so like they just worded it horribly as a lot of cards were. Because I think it was designed like that originally, like with it anywhere in mind. Um, I think things like that is a little bit more reasonable though, because that's just like a little bit more specifics than just making everything a hard once per turn kind of effect. Like really changing the effect, or like future fusion, that kind of stuff. Last turn. Is last turn A or B? Like I think by Series 2 Yu-Gi-Oh! They definitely had an idea of like what the game wanted to be. I mean, look at Ultimate Offering. No one knew how that card worked in 99 OCG. People thought you can just normal summon a Blue Eyes without tributes. People thought you could normal summon Gate Guardian, Ultimate Great Moth. A. I'm seeing 2 A's. It is pretty nutty. Is it above or below Thousand Eyes Restrict? I can agree with A. It's a very nutty card that just can end a thing. It's very specific to get the game shot with it, though, compared to the versatility of Thousand Eyes Restrict. What's up, Brendan Parker? I think just because it's like way less versatile than Thousand Eyes. Yeah, like it. I mean, I don't think it's ever coming off the ban list just because of alternate win condition reasons. Like, yeah, if it's at 3, you'd probably see more weird. Especially if you put like something like Spellbook of Judgment back at 3 and we have Jowgen, then you would definitely be running last turn, maybe. Or something like that. I don't know. I don't play Spellbooks. Hellpoemer. Hellpoemer is definitely at maximum a D tier. It's definitely one of those like theory cards. It's almost good. Hellpoemer. He is a 5-star fiend. Cannot be special from the graveyard. If he's destroyed by battle, which has 2k attack, 1400 defense, and sent to the graveyard. At the end of each of your opponent's battle phases, they have to discard a random card. Yeah, Hellpoemer is definitely a card you look at and you're like, man, I really want to make this guy work. Like, it's kind of a fun constant hand rip effect, but also sends cards to the graveyard. But it is random, which is nice. It's kind of a shame it's at the battle phase, though, and not during their standby phase. So at that point, they can, like, pretty much set up their hand how they want. In main phase 1. Like, they can just, like, set all their back row if they really wanted to. Or if they have, like, Sinister Serpent, T-Drag, it's kind of... It's... Yeah, like, again, it's not terrible. Like, it is a 1 tribute 2000. I feel like at that point, you probably would rather run a Zombie Lord. At least that card can come back and have more of a deck thinning presence. So I'm thinking D tier. Is it better or worse than B Skull? Yeah, which, again, you can at least tribute set it. And even 2000 attack isn't asking for much to be attacked over. And if they're not going to attack over it, you can probably attack over a lot of other cards too with 2k attack. I love that art, man. Veronic Guardian's so good. Like, wasn't his anime effect where didn't Merrick just like foolish burial this guy and you could get his effect off? Like, if that was the case, if you could just discard it from hand, like if it was just if this card is in your graveyard, that'd be so good. They should retrain this. Give me like Pharaonic Hellpoemer or something. Like, in theory, a constant hand rip is good. In theory. We're getting close to 10 likes. Yeah, and it's the kind of card where you only need to run one. Because the other thing... Well, like, the other thing, too, it's not even once per turn. So, in a perfect world, in an ideal situation, you manage to get somehow 3 destroyed by battle. I don't know, Ring of Magnetism or whatever. 3 gets destroyed by battle, and then your opponent's constantly losing up to 3 cards in their hand. Yo, Chips, don't know what's up. Fave YouTuber. Wowee, that's a big compliment. Thank you very much. Yeah, we got to 10 likes. Let's go. How much likes did the last video get? I thought we got to like 20 or 25. I don't know if we'll get up to that, but I've been doing okay. I could be better, dealing with a lot of moving troubles, which my current place is gonna screw me out of a lot of money, potentially. So I'm probably going broke. Help. I kind of... I don't know if I want him above or below B Skull. This is kind of tricky. At least with B Skull, he is more of like a deck kind of deal. Well, Hellpoemer is more of a tech card that you could use in like a hand control deck, or like Necromancy said, like a Fiend Gate. So I love man. It's kind of sucks that you don't really see Reason Gate decks anymore in Goat format. My favorite YouTubers. Thank you, Iron Giant Buttle. Every time I read that, one of my favorite YouTubers. Thank you. I spent a lot of time working on those. A lot of time in research, especially as the episodes continue on. Well, some are short. Like Edison is just inherently short, but the Trooper format video probably could have been 2 videos. See a lot of Hellpoemers in Italy. Reasoning Gate decks. Oh, I thought you were talking about Hellpoemer for a second. It took me a minute to click the 2. Like, even if Hellpoemer was sent from the field to the graveyard, that'd be just way better. But it has to be destroyed by battle. Like, there's many ways, and even in early Yu-Gi-Oh, they could have got away with it too. I guess it was a tune problem, or they thought it would have been too powerful. I kind of want to put him right below Beast Skull. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe I don't know. This is a weird one. Like in I'm getting a weird case of Dejan mustard right now with this. It's weird because Edison as exists just one event. Yeah, it's because it's the last Shonen Jump championship, and it's right before Shining Darkness, so it was like right before a bunch of shit happened. I know that is well. Well, what do you mean like focusing? You mean like on history videos or just like videos in general? How does it look if he's above B Skull? Anyone's input on this Hellpoemer dilemma? You would place it in F. I couldn't place it in F. I feel like for me, D tier, at least as of the last video, is more of a theoretical, like, okay, this card could in theory be used for something. Whereas F tier is just like straight up, this card is bad. I don't think Hellpoemer is straight up bad. Because it does have a function that isn't the worst to get off. Well, I kind of mentioned a little bit how popular Edison format kind of is at like the end of the history video. Because the history series is based off of like purely history, but I can't just like ignore some of the popularity of the formats. Like I kind of mentioned Goat, but I also want to be more towards like the historical side of things because that's you don't really get too much of those, especially like from my point of view where I didn't really play Edison. So I do have Edison decks I've played like on online, but I haven't played much of it. I think I'm gonna have him above B Skull. I think because it does at least have an effect that can do stuff, whereas Black Skull doesn't really do anything. I think that's fair. So let's move on to Dark Paladin of Magician's Force. Dark Paladin's another kind of a weird card. Fusion of D-Mag and Buster Blader. When spell card is activated, you can use a quick effect to discard a card and negate it. Just strip negate spell cards, which is pretty good. You need to discard a card. So hopefully you have those T-Drags and Serpents and Treeborn Frog or whatever format you're playing it in. Must be face up. That makes sense. 500 attack for each dragon on the field and in the graveyard, which may or may not come up, but it doesn't hurt it with high attack. Good stats. Force them to set their hand. Release half of that 2 RBs. Stress at 1. Yeah, I suppose that's fair. With all the back row. Again, you can't technically make it work someone in like a hand destruction deck if you wanted to, which gives me some fun ideas. Hellpoemer smiles at me a little bit. Oh, also, what's up, Philippe Lusick? C or B? I maybe here, high C. It's not, you don't really see him as you would see Blue Eyes or Relinquished. Like, does it have a skill and a deck and speed duels? Well, otherwise, not. Well, with like Black Skull Dragon, I mean, speed duels, you already have Meteor Black Dragon. So you're going to be playing that anyway. I mean, you have seen Master Restrict in some side decks just as a Floodgate card. Whereas Buster Blader, you don't. So, like, maybe Buster Blader should go below Massive Restrict. Because I don't think he's B tier. Because you have to use a lot of resources essentially just to get a spell negate. Which you might as well run trap negates. Or, like, trap negation cards. Like Magic Jammer or Magic Drain, Solemn Judgment. Like, you have to run, like, yeah, you have to run fusion subs and whatnot too, but it's a lot to get out a monster that's essentially could be other cards. Like, if you're running a deck around, like, yeah, it's not terrible. Like, it's certainly not a D tier card. Like, it does have board presence once you get it out. And it is good. If you're facing a dragon deck, it's good. It's no Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. But it's certainly much better than a Beast Skull Dragon. I mean, this guy can attack over Beast Skull Dragon. There is Dark Paladin. Yeah, there is like Dark Paladin decks in GOAT, but I mean, how meta is it? Whereas if you did have a scene where you're running two Monarchs, which I would argue Monarchs are more prevalent than Demok. Not Demok. Why do I say Demok? Dark Paladin. I think for just what Master Restrict does is kind of better than... It's tricky because you got to consider also the cards that have more of a solo use compared to cards that are built around a deck, which makes ranking it kind of tricky. Well, even with Eye of Timaeus, like, you have Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight, you'd rather get out. Like, at least that card works really good with like Eternal Soul. I think I'm gonna have him below Mask of Restricts. Exodian Necros. I love the art. God damn, I love the art. I wish we got more Exodian Necros support. It's not a good card. I don't know, because I know Dark Paladin has to be fusion summoned. For Eye of Timaeus. Eye of Timaeus is a fusion summon. So that should work with Dark Paladin. So all Dark Paladin wants to be is fusion summoned. Painfully bad. I haven't played Dark Mags in a few years. Like, that was my deck in like 2018. Dark Magicians. Yeah. Let me just read its effect. I wish they made like a Necros card, but it was like the 5 pieces of Exodian Necros kind of thing. Must be someone with contract. Cannot be someone other way. Cannot be destroyed by battle or by spell or trap. Like, and that's good, right? During my phase against 500 attack, like, that's not bad. But you need all 5 pieces in your graveyard, which is really bad. And they need to be in the graveyard for it to stay on the field. And it only starts with 1800. I think if it started with 23, that'd be saying something. I've seen it in like someone play it in like a more of a casual looking Exodia deck, just to run the card. Like yeah, it's essentially like a backup Exodia in a way. Like once your strategy goes complete, you can kind of, in an ideal world, pivot to it. Yeah, like it has, like you read its effect, right, and you think, okay, it can't be destroyed by battle, it can't be destroyed by spell or traps, it can't be destroyed by anything really except for monster effect, and it gains attack every turn. But then you realize that it has to be special summoned by a specific spell card by having 5 otherwise bricks in your grave in most formats that you can't use Painful Choice in, unless it's like you can use Painful Choice in what, like 2-3 formats while Necros was legal, and its attack stat is just so low from the start. Like by the point where it's useful, you're taking multiple turns to get high attack. Like at that point, you have to be running equip cards, and it's like a lot of bricks. Taisu Gravedigger Ghoul. That's saying something. Yeah, if it didn't need all the cards in the graveyard, and also it cannot be special summoned by other ways. Does that mean like, can you still summon out after it's been destroyed, or does that mean you can't special summon it at all afterwards? Like it should have had 3k attack, right? Or at least 25, 500 for each piece. That's unfortunate. Like, it's such a cool looking card. It's just a black Exodia. But it's gotta be so specific. Dark Magician of Chaos, though. After all is set up, you still have to wait for it to be any good, and it gets to be removed from play. Yeah. You summon it out, you're like, haha, you can't attack over it. Okay, I'll pass my turn. Your opponent, all right. Banish, BLS, Prio. Oh shit. It is like very, it's a very schoolyard Yu-Gi-Oh. Yeah, like how, well, let me look at something real quick. So if we sum up all of Exodia pieces, so the head's 1,000, then the rest of the pieces are 2, 4, 6, 8. So it does have the sum of the pieces. Not defense, but just attack. Defense-wise, it would be even higher, because that'd be 1,000, 3, 6, 9, 2,100 defense. Dies to Maneater Bug, dies to Nidoria, dies to Yomi Ship, dies to Night Assailant, gets wrecked by Chaos Sorcerer, gets wrecked by BLS, and this is just GOAT format, too. So, but thankfully, DMOC, Dark Magician of Chaos from Invasion of Chaos, much better card. I think this is another A tier. Anyone disagree on that one? In its heyday, it was used in a multitude of decks, from Chaos to Go Control to Reasoning Gate, DDT, the Janjo Zone. What's up, Rocket Cat? I don't think I've ever advertised these at all. Or I never really do, but I do have my own emotes for Janjo members. Die Sahane. Kinda. The question is, where on the A tier does it belong? Yeah, you can just like I know like in Go format you mostly see it in Reason and Gate decks now, but yeah, like back, there were plenty of times you saw it in non, and I think it's starting to creep back up too in some like Go control decks too. Hey, what's up, Brennan Parker? My heart says above Thousand Eyes Restrict. My head says below Thousand Eyes Restrict. Yeah, some of these are tricky. It's like, all right, it's definitely good. Remember doing some dummy combos with Chaos Man. I want to put it above Thousand Eyes Restrict. I think because it can just do what it does is really, really good. The Blue Eyes support is good, but you do have to keep in mind that Blue Eyes is good because of the support, not that it's like great on its own, which puts it in like a weird situation. Like it's not bad by any means, like Blue Eyes, but the support definitely carries it a lot of weight, and not even just like just Blue Eyes support, but even like other decks that make use of it, like Trade-in or Advanced Ritual Art. Yeah, because this is not just DM era. This is like the cards in general in the TCG. So not like a specific format, not OCG, speed duels, whatever. It is harder to bring out than Thousand Eyes Restrict. That's true. But the decks you do use it in, like, it's definitely like the difference maker. Whereas Thousand Eyes Restrict is more of a tool, right? DMOC, I think. Well, no, because the DMOC got an errata where you get the spell card at like the end phase, so it definitely got neutered. I'm pretty sure it's legal now. Because now it's like it's much slower. You can't really abuse its like looping abilities. Like this dude, like in can be used in OTKs. Which is more I can say about Thousand Eyes Restrict. Which Thousand Eyes Restrict is really good for its own specific reasons. So I could argue Thousand Eyes Restrict is better than DMOC. Kind of another tricky one. Errata did hurt a lot, but let's not keep that in mind. That's kind of unfair, I think. Probably is. See, DMOC. Oh yeah, DMOC's been unlimited since April 2016. It was banned for like 8 years though, between September 08 and Feb 16. So there you go. Creator and DMOC interact. Well, how long was Thousand Eyes Restrict? Thousand Eyes Restrict wasn't that card banned? Yeah, that card was banned from about the same time, September 06 to February 2016. And they got limited, then it got unlimited. So very similar time, both cards were banned. Yeah, I remember first seeing the Crater in a blister pack, being really excited about it. Saw it at a Walmart. So we think. So what's the final say on DMOC? Is it better or worse than TER? Yeah, that's true. It did have to get it. Probably had to get errata to get off the list. Whereas TR was just kind of slow, but too slow for the game at that point. Okay, we'll keep it above Thousand Eyes. Archlord Zerato, not as good. But I like the card. I like this probably as much as I like Mazera Deville. Can I get like a good scan to read this dude's effect? One of two Archlord cards. You want him so bad as a kid? TR can be so decent nowadays. Although I will argue, though, nowadays you do have Millenniumize Restrict, which is kind of just like a better version of it. Or you don't really have that with DMOC because you had to like just straight up neuter it. But I mean, you have better like magician cards anyway. Okay, so Archer Zerata has to be special by tributing Warrior of Zera while Sanctuary Sky is on the field. If Sanctuary in the Sky is on your field, you can discard a light monster from your hand to the grave to destroy all monsters on your opponent's side of the field. Sanctuary Sky effect is not applied. That's a weird addition. So essentially, its effect is that you can discard a light monster to Lightning Vortex. Or no, to Raigeki. It's not even face up. Light monster to Raigeki. So this could work with Thunder Dragon. Democking you back. Yeah. And again, you can use Democ for some like crazy loops too. Like look at him in like GX era Yu-Gi-Oh! Where what was that recent deck? Like that Spell Economics OTK. Yeah. With get Democ on field, your opponent's out of here. I think Archlord Zerato is definitely C tier, possibly here. I think that's kind of where we have Mazera Deville, where it's theoretically good, but it's just like missing that extra oomph. Because you do have to run essentially a subpar deck for it. And its nuking effect is good, but you do have to discard a light monster, and you do have to have Sanctuary of the Sky on the field, which kind of blows. Right? Yeah, there needs to be a card that's like search a monster that includes Warrior of Zera from your deck to your hand. Or like a Zera monster. I don't know how specific that would be. If that would include like Zerato or not. Or a card that just like says add a card that includes Zera in its effect, because then you could add like Zera Ritual or Zera the Mant. Because you do have like Zera Dias that can get out, search up Sanctuary in the Sky too. But yeah, there's no way to search out Archlord, ideally, which sucks. And like even at least Mazera Deville, you just get him out once and you can essentially get its effect off. Whereas you may not necessarily even have like the right scenario really where you really want to use Zerado's effect, because it's like doesn't really do much. It's good for like very specific situations. Like nuking a monster, like Raigeking your opponent with a monster is like pretty good. But you have to discard a light, which is fair, I guess. I mean, it's a little bit easier than like Armed Dragon level 10. But that card you need to send one card from your hand to graveyard to sort of only face up monsters. And you also need to get it out like very specific ways. So it's it could be worse. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it should be card search any Zera card. That would have been really nice. But unfortunately, we have to play with the tools we are given, the hand that we are dealt. Master Flare Hyperion. The heck is that? A Synchro monster. Okay, it's an agent card. Okay. But that card was released last year. It's kind of a neat card. I wonder how, like, if anyone has built decks around this with... I wish, like, old style decks, like modern decks with, like, an old style was a more popular thing. That would have been kind of fun. Be like, hey, it's GOAT format with, like, a few more cards, or I'm making this Edison format, but I include a couple of these cards to just make it really good, kind of thing. Maybe I'll pick up a couple copies of this guy just for funsies. Well, I'll add to my wish list. Zerado kills face down monsters. Yeah, like, it's nice that it kills everything. But the problem with, like, Master Flare, though, is that it's a synchro monster. So it's kind of hard to, like, include that stuff in, like, an expanded format type of deal. Though it would be cool to see like Rocket Warrior and Panther Warrior, and this is all stuff we'll see in like the OCG around that time. But I think just it's better in theory than like Hellpoemer, so I think that's fair. Horus the Black Flame Dragon, level 8. I love this card. This card's great. But it does have some drawbacks. It being, well, a level monster. And there not really being any Horus support, which also kind of sucks too. But he negates all spell cards, though, which is really good. Like, it's a Jinzo for spells with high attack. Easier out than Dark Paladin and you don't go minus. Yep. And thankfully, level up exists, and it's not hard to get out Horus level 6 either. Especially in later formats, like Edison, when you have Totem Dragon or Treeborn Frog, Brain Control. I think Horus is a B tier. That's what I'm thinking. But where in B tier? Where in B tier? I am shocked, honestly, we haven't got any more Horus cards. Like, we got Armed Dragon Thunder for Armed Dragon. Like, where's Horus? Like, how come we haven't got, like, anything remotely great with Horus? Like, we even got Seiryu cards. The problem is it's just hard to get this dude out. Yeah, like we got some Horus cards, Dark Horus, Metaphys Horus, but like not actual like support, you know. Like the dark counterparts are kind of its own thing. I just mean like some more like strictly Horus support or like a retrain type of deal, like we got with Armed Dragon Thunder. Yeah, the King Dragoon like Dragon Turbo deck is really nice. Like Horus is definitely kind of a little bit underexplored. That's kind of the problem with GOAT format though, is that like it's Warriors or Chaos Turbo or bust. Like when you get more decks that do top. And there have been a lot of decks that topped. It still doesn't quite ever break that barrier. Like Earth Beats or the occasional Reasoning Gates, Goat Control. We saw a water deck top once last year. I think it was a Leafia, like Nightmare Penguin. Things you see a lot more in like the Italian community. I was going to do a video on this Italian tournament months ago that I never ended up making. That just like every deck in the top was just something different. I mean, even burn decks have lost a lot of popularity, probably because people have been sighting into it. Well, partially Necro. I mean, yeah, I think they're easy and breaking is definitely a good factor into playing them, but I do think at least like Warriors is a deck that it's easy to pick up, but it's hard to master. So I think Warrior, you have to be very specific on what you're looking for in regards to like picking out like what you need during like each turn. I mean, Warrior decks, like, nowadays still look a lot different from how they looked like back in 2005. Back in 2005, you had, like, Gearfried and, like, Warrior Toolbox. Now it's essentially, like, Warrior Chaos, kind of, or some sort of, like, just Blade Knight Kaiku deck. I mean, I'd be hard-pressed to say that Chaos Turbo isn't, like, the best deck. Even, like, with Warriors being, like, pretty close. Because, like, just the speed of Chaos Turbo is crazy. And it's like, you don't care if some of your cards get destroyed, because that's, like, it just kind of works in your game plan. Which is a kind of problem with GOAT format that is kind of being solved. It's like, yeah, you see strategies, like, pop up here and there. But even, like, with Earthbeat, I mean, it's once in a blue moon, you still see, like, the old variation of, like, the Gaia power one once in a blue moon pop up. And, like, yeah, at least with Worlds, you technically see more people with, like, crazier ideas. I mean, like, historically, we saw a machine deck in Top Cut. Like, no one plays machines. Like, in Chaos Yada format, you saw, like, kind of Thunder Chaos a little bit. But I think the thing I was kind of saying, too, again, was that you even if other decks top, other decks that get first place in tournaments, it never seems like it's enough to change people's minds at this point. Like, Burn came pretty close, I would say, in being like the one. But Burn even still has kind of like fallen back down, where Chaos Turbo and Warriors kind of, because yeah, like you mentioned, it is very easily accessible, and it's clear to see why they're good from the outset, which is why people play them so much. And I think that is a factor into like why they are considered like the best decks. And it's kind of a problem with just, and that's you're gonna get that in any format. Yeah, people were playing Burn for a long time until people started sighting way into it, and then you definitely get a rotation of some decks. Whereas Chaos Turbo kind of remains. Like, Go format or Go control is kind of getting popular for a little bit. It's gaining some steam. And I thought Earthbeat was getting some steam too after this past Worlds. But it's kind of, that's also another deck that requires a lot of skill. It's kind of like Warrior decks, but more niche. And you're gonna get that with any format people play. Like, decks are gonna become better and better. Like, you can look at Critter format and see like, oh well, these cards, you can play a more variety of good stuff decks, and then you realize, oh shit, Muka Muka Turbo, Cannon Burn. Oh, there's an Exodia deck now? That's really good? What? Yeah, because Exodia may or may not have ruined Critter format, but I guess we'll see. But I still love Goat, though. I mean, I'd be hard-pressed to say that's not probably my favorite retro Time Wizard format. Because even if Chaos stuff is still around, if you know how to play your deck, and if you're not playing complete jank, you still have a chance. Especially if you kind of know what you're playing against, and that's a lot of that comes down to player ability. Like, if you're Anthony Alvarado and you're playing Dragoon Turbo, like, you'll probably be fine. Exodia finds a way. It was crazy how long it took for Critter format to understand. Like, oh, Critter and Witch are at 2, and you have all these other searchable cards for Exodia pieces? Exodia at Worlds. That sounds familiar. Didn't someone bring like an Exodia deck to Worlds a few years ago? Do I have that saved, actually? I think I almost made a video on that when I was doing my historic deck series. Yeah, Gerald Winston. The 2012 Exodia. That was it. I was gonna do a video on that one. I think there's another historic deck I was gonna do one on like Madolche. Maybe I should bring that series back. I don't know. My deck profiles don't really do super well. Horus. Exodia still, well, we saw when Mystic Mine was legal, we saw Exodia. So Exodia can still exist depending on the card pool nowadays. Like, yeah, there's the way games are, it's not, depending on the meta, some metas aren't as back and forth. Some are still kind of like 3-turn things, but there's a lot of dependencies on it. But I think Exodia can still technically be viable. It's much more of a like a stun kind of stuff now than an FTK. whereas Sun decks somehow still exist because there's just so many Floodgate cards. Yeah, Exodia will always be in the shadows. Exodia Necros, not so much, but even like Exodia Obliterate decks. I kind of want to build an Obliterate deck. I recently, the last few months, picked up a playset of Obliterate. That's kind of a weird card that they haven't reprinted yet, which I feel like they should. But those stuff are kind of fun. I wish like Exodia Incarnate was a little bit better. But where do we put Horus at? Can we inch our ways to 15 likes? Is that something we can inch our way to? Horus is a weird one. It's really good, but it's very specific. Saying low B. I kind of want to put it above Relinquished, but below Blue Eyes. You're saying I like it over Blue Eyes. So my argument for here is that on paper it's better than Relinquished. If you can get it out, it's better than Relinquished. It's Rocket Cat. What's up, Rocket Cat? You're saying over Blue Eyes. Necro's saying high B. Do you think it's better than Blue Eyes? Do you think it's better than a card, Blue Eyes, that existed in a 2016 World Championship deck? See, depending on the format, those spells are good. Like, if you look at Edison format, spells aren't great. Not compared to Traps and Monsters, at least. I think having a Horus on the field is a much scarier situation than having a Relinquished on the field. So I do think he's better than Relinquished. And you also have, like, Blue Eyes. Like, aren't there Blue Eyes in Dragon Link decks, too? I mean, you saw them in, like, Dragon Draw Exodia decks, Edison format. You could technically use them in, like, Demise OTK. But that's just more of, like, playing whatever you want at that point. You could play Trihorn Dragon or Cosmo Queen if you wanted. Like the GX era stuff. Horus is just, like, kind of hard to get out compared to the tools that Blue Eyes has. Right? Yeah, Cosmo Queen. That card got a retrain, Cosmo Brain, which I have played in... Did I play my Red Eyes deck or Dark Magician deck? What the fuck does Cosmo Brain do again? I know I played, like, in a deck. Special summon by sending a vanilla monster. Gains attack by the vanilla monster. You can choose effect monster or summon a vanilla monster. I think I play this in... I don't remember if I played this in Dark Magician or Red Eyes, Cosmo Brain. In Goat, Relinquish, and Sindri can use light and dark. Make you builds more consistent. Horus. Yeah, like in Goat, yeah. It's probably a little bit more feasible to run like a Relinquish deck. But if you can get like that, but if you can get the Horus lock on there, like Horus and Decree, like King Dragoon, like that's really hard to get rid of. Whereas Relinquish, like, yeah, you can get Relinquish on the field. But like I think any good player can kind of get around it. And especially if you're looking at like a variety of formats too. I think just like as a card, it's just the only drawback is that it's a level monster. Is Blue Eyes a bigger brick in hand? Not necessarily, because you do kind of need in hand to get alternative Blue Eyes out, which alternative Blue Eyes is good. Because you need to reveal Blue Eyes in hand. Yeah, Blue Eyes is just in that weird situation where it's like technically not great. Like it technically doesn't do anything, but just all the cards that make use of it give it a purpose. Whereas it's kind of hard to fit Horus in most decks. Like even like in like dragon decks, like you got to be playing like specifically like a Horus or like Dragoon kind of deck. Paladin can summon Blue Eyes from deck too, I believe. Sure, but like we have, I mean, even Blue Eyes, like there's no higher attacking vanilla monster than Blue Eyes in the game of Yugioh. Like, yeah, it has backup. I think I want to keep Horus below Blue Eyes. I think Blue Eyes just has, you know, it is because it is an anime monster, but like it is what it is. It just has a lot of stuff going for it, whereas Horus doesn't, aside from its like own ability. So I think that's a fine place to put it. Actually, I believe Goat format recently did a live stream with JDZ with a I believe it was JDZ and Alethea did a Blue Eyes deck that looks completely bonkers, but seems to be pretty good. I might have to like try it out. It's like a weird Blue Eyes chaos deck. Let me see if I can link that. Yeah. I would love to do something with Alethea. I've thought about doing like a podcast with like guests kind of thing. Where I have just people in and just, talk to them for like a little bit. Like like I guess like a key people and like interesting people in like Yu-Gi-Oh. But I don't know if that's something I would ever actually end up doing, but I guess we'll see. Get some like SJC champs and stuff. Thought about calling it. Well, I don't want to spoil any names, but I've had a name that's like been in my mind. Maybe make it almost like an Eric Andre type of thing. I think that'd be kind of fun. Just ask some like bonkers questions. Janjo cast. I almost did a podcast one time with a friend. We recorded like 3 or 4 episodes, but we never ended up airing it anywhere because we just didn't end up following up on it. It was going to be a Goosebumps podcast where my friend and I would read like through the Goosebumps books and just like talk about it. Like, we got through I think the first 4 books. I think we only recorded 3 episodes, but that never ended up happening. I did have a friend. He used to make like video game reviews and stuff. He did try 2 podcasts on his channel. One of them was just like him, our other friend, and I would play through a game and then have like a podcast about it. And then we had another one where another friend and I would watch video game movies and then talk about it. I think that one only had like 1 episode. I think the other one only had like 2 episodes. I think it was like Majora's Mask and Sonic 06. but those never went anywhere. The Goosebump thing was fun though. Maybe I'll put them on my Patreon or something. Yeah, because we did. Because I think part of it was that we just couldn't find enough time for it all. Because I had more at my position at that current job, that job I had during that time. I had more time to read stuff, so I would read like Goosebumps during then. And then I switched positions, and then didn't quite have that time. Yeah, we read the what was the first one? Welcome to Dead House, which was definitely a lot more horrifying-y than some of the later ones because it's the first one, so they kind of got away with more. And then was like Don't Go Into the Basement, which I liked. I thought it had some like fun atmosphere, very like more a little bit more light. And then Monster Blood, which was weird, and then was the Curse of the Mummy, which I don't remember like a ton about. I like to read through them all though. I thought they were like fun light reads. Part of my childhood, loved Goosebumps. Like the original series, like of books. I had like all of them. Yeah, there were 4 Monster Bloods. Can you imagine that? 4. Yeah, the Haunted Mask, I think. Something like that. Very good visuals. You can actually buy like actual prints of them from like the actual artist. I think last year or so they released a Goosebumps art book, which I would love to get. I love like that's just some classic art. The Creator. Creator's another weird one. Creator's another one I really like conceptually, but I hate that it cannot be specialed from the graveyard. That's like its big downside. It's cool. It's like this weird light thunder with 3k defense. I wish it had higher attack, especially for a 2 tribute monster. Once per turn, you can special monster from your graveyard, then send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard to special summon that monster. Yeah, I wasn't sure on the specifics, but yeah, I think it was some like contract issue R.L. Stine had. But didn't he like? But they continued Goosebump books for like a bunch of series though, didn't they? Like, isn't it still going on? It's good in Ham. Ham. What the hell is Ham? Ham. Yeah, they did like a bunch of reboots. I think currently it's like Slappy's World or something. I really don't follow it aside from like stuff I was doing when I was doing the podcast. Well, starting up the podcast. I think like the artist, there was a thing with the artist and like contract things or something. That's why he stopped doing it. Cause like you can't beat that classic art. Like that guy's art was so iconic. Like I don't really care for any of like the when they like re-release the books and it's like some different art. Fat Monsters and Creator. Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of the Ham deck. You do occasionally, like once in a blue moon, you'll see Creator and Reasoning Gate. I mean, the thing you see Creator most is the Dark Creator in like Dark Creator Turbo or Hopeless Dragons, like something around that mid 2010s era. But that's not the Creator. Yeah, you have to send me that deck. Like Dark Creator has much more use. again, like if it could be spelled from the graveyard, like that'd just be nice. It is nice that Creator Incarnate exists, which can be a search off Rhoda. I wish Incarnate could summon from the deck as Creator from the deck as well. Or if it was like a 1500 attack monster, then you can get it off of Shining Angel. But unfortunately, it has 1600 attack, which sucks. It sucks. Which puts Creator in a weird situation. Like, it's a level 8 with... That's pretty much only good for defensive purposes to summon stuff. And you have to discard for it. Like, I wish... Like, at that point with the Creator, I feel like you shouldn't have to discard a card. It should have just been, like, once per turn, summon a monster from your graveyard, and that would have been fine. Yeah, now you have Chaos Creator, which is much better than Chaos Space and all those other Chaos support cards. I kind of want to build, like, the Chaos deck, especially with the recent support with all the Synchro monsters. I think Chaos Archfiend isn't too bad. That's what I'm thinking of. Like, Incarnate's okay. Like, 1600 is, with 1500 defense, isn't terrible. Like, if you have to run it. And it is a solid way to get out the Creator if you're not running a Reasoning Gate deck. But you're probably going to be wanting to run Creator in a Reasoning Gate if you're running it in anything. I feel like Creator is a C tier. That's what I'm leaning towards. Because it definitely has seen use. Another weird thing. It's like, where to put it in C tier. But if you run anything else, what are you actually reviving? Well, if you're playing like a Reason Gate, you could revive like a Sacred Crane, which is a draw. There are other cards you could revive possibly, like Janjo. What's the not Twin Barrel? What am I thinking of? Not Twin Barrel Dragon. What's the one in Reason Gate decks? Shit. I'm drawing a blank. Blowback. Yeah, Blowback Dragon. That's it. Yeah, like Janjo, Blowback Dragon, Sacred Crane. Like things that can either get you draws, blow up the field, that sort of stuff. Like pretty much a Reason Gate, you're playing mostly power cards depending on the build. Sometimes not so much if you're running like Air Knight, but Air Knight's not really seen anymore. Because otherwise, you're not really playing. I did make like a weird Thunder Creator deck years ago on the channel. That was more just like Thunder-based stuff, but yeah. That's what I'm saying though, is like you're definitely running it in Reasoning Gate. Out of like anything. It's not really good at anything else. But in that deck, you do have... Ideally, you have options to summon. If you get him like first turn, yeah, you're not going to have much, but Reason Gate's already glass cannoning in the first place. That if you're running the Creator, you're kind of going into that. But I love Creator's design though. Like, it's so cool looking. This giant orange... whatever he's made out of. Machine, rock, I don't even know. He's Thunder type, so it doesn't really explain anything. Is Creator where does he fit around Massive Restrict and Dark Paladin? Like, Dark Paladin decks, are they as prevalent as Reasoning Gate with Creator? Is it worth more than just running Creator? Is it worth more than what we've seen with Massive Restrict, which is a generic blanket effect, but we don't really see it that often? Massive Restrict either. And Creator, to be fair. Orange Winged Dragon of Ra. He loves orange soda. He do. He has like, he's like shooting lightning from him with like green waves and space. And I'm looking at this art like, man, that is some pretty art. I wonder if he's in the book I have, the art of the cards. I don't know. That was like specifically like stuff from the anime. I feel like nowadays, if this card like came out, he probably would have been like a psychic type rather than thunder. Also, weird tangent. I feel like aliens should be a type. Like, why are they reptile? Like, we should just have like an alien type. Right. B to C seems like the line between C's place and doesn't. B's like definitely like, okay, these are good cards. C's like, the cards, it's okay. It's playable. It's not the best, but it's playable. Where A is like the best, and D is kind of like, theoretically, in a world, maybe you could do something with this. Whereas F is just terrible. I think psychic types are a thing. I'm pretty sure. I don't know off the top of my head. Is Chaos End Punisher a psychic type? Or no, it's not Chaos. A Psychic End Punisher. Yeah, Psychic End Punisher is a... Yeah, that's a pretty good secret that came out last year. That's a psychic type. Yeah, like bloating's like, yeah, I don't want bloat either. But like aliens, like some extraterrestrial thing, like that makes sense as a type. Right? I don't know if any other like ones kind of pop in my head of like that'd be kind of cool. Like worms, like the ones with like, yeah, like the Y, like the worms. That was always kind of weird to me. Like, what the hell is that? Like even the reptiles was a new type in, you know, much later in Yu-Gi-Oh. Worms is Phantom Dragon. Like that's just kind of weird. Like couldn't they just have them be dragons? Whereas something like aliens makes a little bit more sense for a game where you have, like, I think that's maybe because they realize that maybe there's not as much alien monsters. It's like, what's Elemental Hero Neos or Dandelion? Are those aliens if you consider the lore? Like they should have reptiles like way earlier. Like what's Worm Drake? You know, like Worm Drake's okay. Okay, Worm Drake is a reptile. What am I thinking of? I think of something different than reptiles. What am I thinking of? Yeah, maybe it was a balancing thing. Like psychics, I get. Was Lambda a psychic? Psyframe Lambda? Yeah, Psyframe Lambda's a psychic too. Worms are disgusting. Oh, those cards, disgusting. I like the one that looks like a weird UFO thing. But yeah, maybe they did. Worms is like a balance thing, maybe. I'm surprised you haven't seen any new like attributes or anything. I think like the most recent like type we saw was Cybers, which I get, you know, they're like electronic kind of things, not quite electric. Did we see many reptile monsters in early Yu-Gi-Oh? Like Gaga Gigo, those. Do we have like, was it Balloon Lizard? Reptile? Yeah. Grappler. I think Cybers, like they're like digital, kind of. Like they're not machines. Like they're, you know, not quite as elemental as Thunder, but you know, they're digital. But I don't know why my mind just went blank when it came to reptile monsters. You know, it's like, why are there beast warriors? Why can't it just be warrior types? You know? So I'm fine with Cybers. What I still need to decide though is where the creator goes. All monsters exist in the virtual world. Yeah, but this is like the virtual world. I mean, it's like saying like, you know, aliens aren't really aliens. But then again, aliens are reptiles, so yeah, what are beast warriors called something different in the OCG? Jusenshi. The three. What? Let's see. What happens if I put this to translate? I don't know. Yo, Goldstorm, what's up? Yeah, I don't know why. Do you have like the bell ring? There is a notification in my Discord whenever I upload a video or go live. I always have things pop up there for sure. What's up? Hey, so you still got time. We're doing this very slowly. Oh, I can't wait for Rush Duels to come to North America once they maybe cancel Speed Duels. I don't know how that's going. No, Grappler was never canceled in English, unfortunately. That's like one of the few cards that like I think people are still waiting on. A Reptile. Like he got a recent reprint in that like Kaiba deck in the OCG, where everything was ultra rare. I'd love to get a copy of that deck if I had extra money. Also, what's up, Darkwing? Welcome. Can we get this stream up to 15 likes? Getting close. I think currently, for anyone coming in, we're trying to figure out if the creator... So the creator's C tier. But where in C tier does he belong? It seems to be either top of C tier or right below Massive District. That seems to be where he's currently hovering. I mean, I think like adding types are fine as long as they have like good support with it, and at the end of the day, it does give more variety to the game, especially in a game where there are types that kind of are just better than others, like dragons and warriors and really kind of Cyberse at this point. But we don't need to go overboard with it. Like they don't need to add any more to make the game any crazier than it is. But if they add like, one or two, it's like, okay, whatever. I'm sure they will eventually. It's only a matter of time. Can't disagree much with the ranking. I'd say top of season, being able to interact with the graveyard every turn is potent. Yeah, but it's not like like how much value you're going to gain off of Creator though. Like you could argue with Dark Paladin, stopping spells is more important since you already have like presence with Paladin, but are you going to give up what the deck can do by running like Dark Paladin? Like is the Dark Paladin deck better than like a Creator Gate deck? I haven't played enough of those decks. Dark Paladin is harder to summon. Okay, so we have ruled out Dark Paladin from this equation. I think Mass Restrict is the key thing, and Thunder needs more love. Thunder hasn't really had much love, not that I think. Like Watts can be kind of fun. That's all I can think of from like a Thunder deck. Unless I'm just like clearly missing something. Are sprites Thunder? Yeah, sprites. Of course, sprites. Those cards are busted. So like two decks. One of them was a tier 1 deck. What does Thunder Dragon? Are Thunder Dragons Thunder or are they dragons? Yeah, they're Thunder. Like the ones from like 2018. Yeah, okay, that's another deck. I actually want to build a Thunder Dragon deck because they're kind of affordable at the moment. I think it's only a matter of time before they come back. Like some of them off the ban list. Like I think I have a playset of Colossus. But it's just like a fun deck that was able to stop a lot of things. It was kind of needed for the game for its time. Thunder Kid and Thunderball. Sprites are really cool based off upper atmosphere electricity. That's kind of neat. Sprites is kind of a neat engine. They kind of needed to hit Elf. They should probably hit Sprite Starter, honestly, but it seems to be fine at the moment, so I guess we'll just take it one step at a time. It's amazing all the things that, like, I can't remember, but, like, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I'm like, Sprite, Thunder Dragon, Watts, the creator. Is Creator better? Master Restrict is just a weird one. When there's just like a floodgate that just stops the whole thing. The thing with Mask of Restrict is that I feel like even when like monarchs were popular, there are usually better cards to take care of it. Like even like at Monarch's height, which was what, like 2016? Did we see Master Restrict that often? I know people were playing it because I mean I was playing during then. That's probably the jam deck. Yes, Sprite's a good engine. Turn off Tribute Summon is probably better than Graveyard Engine. That can't be so much. Yeah, that's fair. I think you're more likely to run Restrict if something with tributing pops up more often nowadays than the Chaos, which Chaos is essentially got replaced by Chaos Creator, more or less. I think that's fair. I think that's probably where it should be. Okay, Flaming Eternity, which actually had 2 cover cards. In the foreground, we had Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys, and in the background, we had Deck Devastation Virus. Which order do we want to do this at? I mean, even like Lava Golem's becoming prevalent now in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And like Kaijus are always around too, like Gamma Seals. I think some decks, like some insect decks, will still run like Humongous. Yeah. Yeah, okay. I think that's a good spot for Creator. Man, the next 2 should be... I think the next 2 should be an F tier. So this is just like a straight wall. Unfortunately, I cannot do that with any conscience. Can I put this back down here? Shit. Come on. Really? Sacred Phoenix put an A because it has more relevance early on with Fire Kings. Yeah, and you did see it in early GOAT control decks, like oh my god, name just escaped me. Shit. What's the guy from the Nationals? Oh my god. I should know this duelist. Is at the tip of my tongue. It's not Chris Perovic. It's shit. This is bugging me. I should know this. The tip of my tongue. Yeah, he was a guy like that died in like the 2010s, right? It was like a hiking accident. Rest in peace. Shit. It's I know what it is. Does it start with an M? Shit. No, I'm not thinking. No, that's what I'm. No, that's not what I'm thinking of. Yeah, I think it was like the U.S. Nationals. I don't want to look it up because it's like it's at the tip of my tongue. Because I think he had like he was one that popularized Go Control. Shit. Oh my god, this is gonna ruin me. I might have to concede and look it up. So I'm not just sitting here being like, oh, Max Suffrage. That's what I'm thinking of. Max Suffrage. I did remember it started with an M. I do remember that. Yeah, when it was called Thousand Eyes Lockdown. Oh, man. Though I don't think it was running Sacred Phoenix, though. Now I'm looking at his deck. So I probably am actually thinking of Miltiades Marco. But still. Sacred Phoenix. So you're saying you think he's an A? Brandon Parker saying low A, high B for Bird, for Firebird. Goldstorm says, really wish Nephthys had a little more attack to over Monarchs and Janjo, only because she's a level 8. Top of B minimum, I'd say low A. It did get a World's win, but this is, I mean, this is also a time when people were playing kind of like different things. Like, yeah, it was like it did use an Apprentice engine, which is good. Which you could use Apprentice Magician to get out Hand of Nephthys. But people back then were also running like Magic Cylinder, Reflect Bounder, X-Head Cannon, Vampire Lord, jankier things. Like, I don't know how it was in regards to being crucial. Like, it is good. Like, it's the fact that it can come back and destroy, like, the back row. I hate that new support they gave it to. Like, it could have been much better. During standby phase after destroyed by a card effect, which, you know, it's a good chance your opponent would just have to destroy it by a card effect. You can bring it back, and when it does that, it destroys all spell traps on the field. So it does destroy your own, which kind of sucks. But if you're running like chainables, or like not like a high count, it's kind of fine. Let's see here. So Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys saw most play in GOAT format. That was like its peak. And up to 2013, which was Fire Kings, but it only had that one spot in a regional. There was, yeah, you'd see some like Monarchs and like Chaos and just kind of like good stuff, like 2006 and 7. But it was definitely 2005 though was like its peak. Yeah, it was using like Soul Control decks, like Monarchs and stuff. So it's not bad. I mean, it's not seen as often as like Massive Restrict, which saw play from 2005 all the way to 2019 or 2022. That's recent as January 2022. Yeah, but I mean, Phoenix was never hit though. Like, well, it was limited for like a year. But after that, after September 06, it was good. Like, I think just kind of problem is that you kind of need to run like a specific engine to get it out. Yeah, I wonder, would it be weird if if Sacred Phoenix was in Reasoning Gate decks? Go format. Just a random thought. There should be like a cover card Reasoning Gate deck. I really love Reasoning Gate decks for like just the weird options you can have in it. There's Hammer Shot on it. hit their monster or pop Phoenix. I mean, you could, but you're probably not going to. Like, no one really. The only time you ever see Hammer Shot is in, like, 2007 Gadgets, I think. Firegate deck. Ooh, that sounds fun. I've always wanted to make Infernal Flame Emperor work, or just, like, a fire deck in GOAT format, because there are a lot of cool fire cards, but they're just, like, missing some key pieces. Phoenix definitely, like, is the best fire monster as, like, as a boss monster to use I can think of. Aside from, of course, IE2 equipped with Koitsu. And 60 card highlighter. Yeah, but no one talks about that. Phoenix. So I mean, Phoenix is better than Creator. Is this okay? Do you think it belongs somewhere higher than upper C? I think Horus is dark. A Horus is fire, but it's not like, I don't know. I feel like it doesn't really necessarily. Horus is more of like a dragon. You know what I mean? Like a fire monster. No, I love Nephthys, but I also love Paladin and Creator too. I'm just thinking like, how good is it really? Like, it's good, but like, how good? This isn't final. Yeah, and that apprentice engine was used in the in Worlds. Like, was Massive Restrict ever used in Worlds? Using World Chalice? No. Well, actually, hold on. Let me see. Just Master Restrict was used in so many decks in like certain times. Like the amount of decks Restrict was used in, even if it was just like side decks, like absolutely eclipses Nephthys. Like I'm just looking on like top decks right now. But you all are saying it's above Mask. Like it is amazing how many decks we're using Restrict. Like Nephthys is like one like small page. So Restrict was used in World Championships in 2017 in True King Dino decks. It was used in the 2016 World Championships at least, and this is just like the recent stuff. So if you're saying that Nephthys should be high because it was in a World Championship, what does that say about Restrict that was used in a lot? Honestly, in that case, like, do we even rank Master Restrict like above Blue Eyes? Like, do we up that? Just based on like prevalence? So we're getting close to 15 likes. That'd be kind of sick if we got up to there. Mass will always have potential. Yeah. Put Mass to A tier. I don't know. Cool. The thing with Mass is like it's a very specific side deck card. The thing is with oh shit, we got a 15 likes. Hell yeah. The thing with Nephthys, like it's good, but like how like you're not really like playing like a ton of ways like get out in a lot of decks. It's just kind of like it's good. I don't know if it's great. Like you're probably not gonna run a whole deck around it like you would do with like Relinquished or Horus. I'm gonna need some more convincing if I want to put up above Restrict. Because, like, technically, yeah, like, he has in fact to destroy Restrict, but if you have Restrict, it's... Unless you're playing Apprentice, it might be kind of hard to get him out. Restrict is boring. I mean... But are we rating them just, like, if it's an exciting card? What does that really mean? I mean, technically, Thousand Eyes Restrict is really boring. You just sit on it and just absorb a card once in a while and just stall, basically. More often than not. Last turn probably isn't super exciting for your opponent. I mean, probably neither is like Horus. I get what you mean though. Like Restrict is just like, all right, no tribute summonings. Whoop-de-doo. I mean, you can still activate things with Restrict. You just can't tribute or Mask of Restrict. Two restricts. But you just can't tribute summon. Which is kind of like a thing that's like always going to have its place in Yu-Gi-Oh! You know? Even if it's not always like a main deck busting card. But that's where the good side deck comes in, which is, you know, an important aspect of Yu-Gi-Oh! Too. I was not expecting this one to hit like 2.5 hours. Helps me forget about all my problems that I'm currently having. Man, these lists are hard. These are hard. It's like Restrict. Restrict, yes, it's such a weird one. Like, I wouldn't even mind bumping Restrict up to, like, B. And then we keep Phoenix in, like, the top of C. Does that look weird? Does that look weird? What do you all think about bumping Restrict up? Does to you? All right. Well, you'll have to. Okay. What? I'm just having a hard time trying to argue that because we have seen Master Restrict a lot in Yu-Gi-Oh! It shuts off like a lot. which is good. What does Nephthys do or has done that makes it better than Restrict? That makes it better than a card that can shut off a whole mechanic that has seen play for way longer time in more than one world championship. Answer that. I mean, he's definitely above the creator. Like, that's already a given. But in the meantime, where do we want Deck Devastation Virus, the other card? The last card, Deck Devastation Virus. Which, once again, it is in the background of Flaming Eternity. A card that many people probably miss on the cover. Say, for instance, better Legacy being a min deck card instead of a side deck card, which is always going to be meta dependent. That's true to a degree. The thing with Phoenix though is that like a lot of decks just the way the Yu-Gi-Oh is nowadays, you're not just going to be like running a card like that isn't just like a Floodgate card. Like, it's not like a Fossil Diana Pachycephalo or Thunder King Ryo. You're trying to think Neff should go above Mask. Like, you're not just going to be playing a deck and think, oh, the meta is like, I need to splash in a Sacred Phoenix and Nephthys. Because how many cards are just better in the side deck to begin with? I mean, look at Mind Crush or Prohibition. Uguchi. Like, a lot of cards have been in the side deck. Electric Snake. Karibo. I mean, a lot of hand traps exist in the side deck. A lot of power cards. Like, a lot of great cards exist in the side deck. Doesn't mean it's bad if it's not just completely in the main deck, because matchups are important to have, and to have counters too. That doesn't completely like stop your game plan. Like, yeah, it is format dependent. If there are going to be more tributes, we might see it come back like soon, just because how prevalent Lava Golem is starting to become. Let alone other like kaiju monsters, and like tributing is always going to be a good mechanic in Yu-Gi-Oh because you can just tribute over most things. Although I think some cards are starting to have like a this can't be tributed thing in it. I think that's like the way powerful boss monsters are probably starting to go in Yu-Gi-Oh. I think there's one like kind of recently that was like that. Is Master Restrict ever limited? Master Restrict was never limited. Interesting. Interesting. But again, Phoenix was only limited for like a year. Yeah, for real. It's always just a constant like power creep, especially as cards and mechanics change. Yeah, everything needs to have some sort of like protection. At least with like Red Eyes Dragoon, it's much less prevalent that they hit Verde Anaconda. Like, really mainly, like, you can see Dragoon like some decks, but it's not as bad as it used to be, thankfully. That's why I was kind of fine with Mystic Mine at 1, because it does kind of check decks for having back row removal. But I also understand why they banned it. You're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. But there's so many like boss monster stuff. Like I do enjoy modern Yu-Gi-Oh to a degree. Maybe not like meta, but stuff like recently been kind of building cores for like Gate Guardian and Arm and Armed Dragon Thunder. That Dragoon is crazy. I mean, even like recently, you know, like last year or two, like when we got Destiny Hero Phoenix Destroyer. Or Destroyer Phoenix, whatever it's called. But like, even that, it's, you know, it's like, okay, it's good, but sort of banless and other just power creep happens. Like most of the time, you just have even more buzz card. Like they banned Kit Kalos. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If this was all even, well, we still got to figure out where we want deck devastation virus. I mean, a lot of y'all are saying Phoenix above Mask. So I will give you this one because I am a man of the people. Actually, yeah, the Gate Guardian cards are pretty good. Maybe like half the fusions of the 4 aren't really good, but Wind and Water is really good, and Gate Guardians combined is also good, and just, even like the support, like if you want like a solid rogue deck, like definitely pick it up. Like it can negate a lot, it can get out the pieces very easily, and it's just a lot of high attack monsters. And even what was it, like Labyrinth Wall Shadow? Is that the one that like stops, or like you can only like summon high level monsters? Like, and they're only going to get more support too. Like, they're not bad. Like, we still haven't got stuff that's like a Dungeon Worm or a Monster Tamer type of thing. Let alone like a Labyrinth Wall specific stuff. So yeah, no, like absolutely. Like I was surprised it was good. But deck devastation virus. Tribute a dark monster 2,000 more attack. Check your opponent's hand. All monsters they control and all cards they draw until the end of the third turn after this card's activation, and destroy those monsters with 1,500 or less attack. So it's essentially a reverse crush card. Deck devastation's pretty good. I'm thinking B tier. B tier isn't terrible for it. Because there is, like, depending on the deck, that's a good chunk of the cards. Like, this deck has seen play. For sure. Can't think of any off the top of my head. But that's what resources are for. Yeah, as early as 2006 to as late as last month. Most play in Feb 2016. Was that Zoo format? Burning Phantom Knights. Okay, PK Fire. PK Fire, Drink Performer Pals. Okay, makes sense. Where in B do we want this card, though? It's probably gonna be a high B. Like it's definitely higher than Relinquished. It's probably here, honestly. Like it can just again, like restrict is deck dependent, but this is less specific, and it can just shut off like a lot for a lot of turns. You're saying like, yeah, top of B. Like it was limited for a couple months, semied for almost a year, and then it's been unlimited since September 2007. But it doesn't mean it doesn't see play. It's not like your opponent's probably running like a deck devastation turbo deck. like, it's definitely way more usable than a Horus is. And as good as Blue Eyes can be, it's not as common. It can't be as Blue Eyes can't be as common in a deck as deck Devastation. Like deck is definitely like a splashable main deck card that can just shut off games potentially depending on the meta. I think B tier is pretty good. I'm still kind of iffy about that Nephthys restrict, but I'll keep it. I don't want to go back really to a lot of these because I know that I'll just be here forever rethinking things. But I think it's like a pretty solid list. I try to keep them like roughly even, and this is like probably as even as I could make it, as we could get it too. I mean, it's unfortunate that out of all the sets, the only one that was terrible of all the cover cards was Exodia Necros, which is like when you're getting packs of Dark Crisis in December 2003, I believe that's when it was released. You're looking at this set and you're like, man, I want this Exodia Necros. But at that time, you probably don't have a play set or like the 5 pieces of Exodia. And you probably pull like a Vampire Lord, which you'd probably be playing Vampire Lord because it's secret rare. But like you're pulling other cards that are probably better in the set, like a Reflect Bound, and think, it's not Exodia Necros. It's kind of unfortunate that, but it does say something when you look at the cover cards that more than not they are good cards to varying degrees. Some you could play for years, like Demok, Devastation, Restrict, even Dark Paladin to an extent. But like at worst, like you're pulling a Necros, which at least looks cool. At least it's an anime card. Like same thing with Black Skull Dragon. Like I would love to have pulled this card back in the day, or even Zerato. Like the cover cards are pretty cool. I think they definitely had an impact to defining a lot of memories for retro Yu-Gi-Oh! That you identify with the set. Like when I think Rise of Destiny, I'm not thinking Thestalos, I'm thinking the creator. When I'm thinking Dark Crisis, I mean Exodia Necros is going to be in the like that top 5 cards I'm thinking of. Dark Crisis, probably, if you ask me. Zerato was real with Dark Lords. And even then, I mean, Dark Lords Zerato was good. Like it was a solid monster to assist Dad. Yeah. Well, Black Skull is like you could easier summon him out, and at least he has 3200 attack. So, B Skull isn't an F tier. He's generic, but it's like whatever. Like Necros is just you're asking a lot for not a lot to get out of it. Father's left-hand men. Kind of same thing with Phoenix too. I mean, you did see Dark Phoenix, but that was pretty much only because you couldn't afford Dad at the time. Which I suppose if you wanted to be different, that's an option you could have gone. I always thought Yamato Dragon looked awesome at the time. I mean, Yamato Dragon still looks awesome. And you still see, like, once in a blue moon, a deck try him out. Whether it's, like, a goat format spirit deck, or... You could even do something in Edison with dragons. Yeah, like, you could technically run Dark Phoenix in decks. Like, it's basically just like a worse dad. But it looks cool, though. Like, again, if you want to do something different. Like, yeah, it's the only time it saw play was in dad return decks or Kaiba Control. I don't remember it in Kaiba Control, because are those burn decks? Yeah, like Shadow Priestess of Ohm. Toon Cannon Soldier Burn. I think that's just... Then also just mainly for, like, Allure or something. I don't know. I think I have a copy of Phoenix in my... I'm slowly trying to collect the Yugi's World set. I actually, today, just finished my Magician's Force set, which I'm really excited about. It's not near mint first ed, but I'm not collecting for near mint first ed. But I was excited to finally finish that. I'm still, like, in the middle of Yugi's World, which is going to take me a while, and I'm very slowly collecting Tournament Pack 2, probably aside from Morphing Jar. That card's very expensive. I don't think I could afford it. Especially not now, because I'm losing a lot of money soon. It's a good time to support me on Patreon or become a YouTube member. I think it's a pretty solid list. I don't know what I'm going to do next week. I remember cracking Magician's Force as a kid and being blown away at pulling a giant orc. Yeah, pulling all those, like, Union monsters, but also not having the other Union monsters. I don't remember what cards I got from Magician's Force. I know, like, I had stuff from Magician's Force. I feel like at one point I had a Dark Magician Girl I got, like, online at one point, like, way back when. Which is unfortunate that I gave that away. I gave away, like, all my cards. Yeah, dude, Morphing Jar is nuts. I would love to have it just to finish, like, a TP2 collection. That and the, like, DDS promos, but that wouldn't be, like, until, like, way down the line. I don't think they're going to get any cheaper unless some, like, big fan ever decides to send me something, which I highly would doubt they would ever do that. Or if I make enough money from YouTube, which doubt that. I feel like I got a lot of Amazoness cards from Magician's Force, because I do remember having, like, an Amazoness deck back in, like, 2004 or so. TP2 Morphing Jar, you're looking at anywhere from 1 to 2,000. Like, if I just go on TCG Player, which I do have an affiliate link for anyone who wants to shop on there. If you use that link, I'll get some kickback eventually. See, Morphing Jar, Tournament Pack 2. Near mint or lightly played, about 1,500 cheapest. Up to 2,500 and so on and so forth. Yo, what's up? We are One Nation. Dark Magician Girl from the tin when it came out, because my store opened the tin. But the card. Yeah, it's always... It's funny, back in the day, you would get, like, cards at the weirdest places. I had a LOB Blue Eyes I found at the floor at a Chuck E. Cheese way back when. Yeah, no, I don't know why it's so expensive. It didn't used to be that expensive. It's only the last, like, 5, 8 years or so. It just, like, skyrocketed. Probably because people realize that tournament packs are very valuable. Yeah, like, morphing jars didn't used to be that expensive. Just something happened, and they just... Hopefully there's, like, some sort of bubble, but... I would love to have one, but that's why I say I'm collecting TP2, but probably be aside from Morphing Jar. Like I was able to do TP1 because I was able to get some European copies of some cards, which are cheaper than English copies, like Mechanical Chaser and such. But the TP2 is also like a slow thing. Like once in a while, I'll pick up a card if it fits my budget. Dude, it's crazy how expensive Yu-Gi-Oh cards have gotten. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really blown up. I think the pandemic affected it a lot too, because people were just in their house and nothing else to do but kind of being like, oh well, let's check out. Since I'm not going in person to play these games, let's check out some like older stuff I haven't played in a while. And then you look at a lot of older stuff that doesn't really get reprinted either because it's banned and Konami doesn't make money off of it, or they just haven't reprinted it, which is why you see a lot of cards like Delinquent Duo or Junk Archer or things in a lot of these like older formats from like pre 2015 just wind up getting like really expensive. Everything got way more expensive during the pandemic. Like GameCube. Anything disc-based. Because, like, Blu-ray discs, like, PS3 era. Because those discs don't last forever. Yeah, everything's crazy. Like, I would buy way more stuff if everything was cheaper. Who would have thought that... recessions are bad. I would love to have all this extra income just for buying anything and everything. I hope it does. I do have 2 or 3 copies of Duo already. Well, I have one that's part of my Magic Ruler set, so that's like pretty much going to stay in that my binder for that. And I think I have 2 other ones because I believe I at one point I built a I believe it was the Miltiades Marco deck. I had like 2 copies of that, so I think I have 2 copies of Duo. I could be wrong. One of them could have been one of them could have been my Magician's Force copy, which not Magic Ruler copy. Which now that I'm thinking about, I think it is. So I think I only have 2 copies. So basically one playable one, which I think was the Kaiba's Collection secret rare one. Because I bought those decks like right before Go format kind of was blowing up. Because that was like 2018 or so. Right, exactly, Darkwing. As soon as it became adults, everything got way more expensive. I'm also, I'm moving at the end of the month, and my current complex is, like, kind of fucking me over. So, I'm spending a lot of money moving, so everything is going to be on my price range for a little bit. I'm not going to be able to make any big card purchases, unfortunately, for a bit. Yeah, it's like, man, I wish things were more affordable. I mean, I did pick up an Alti Armed Dragon level 10 for my Armed Dragon Thunder deck, but that one was like, that was kind of oddly cheap. It was only like $15. So, again, this is why I don't mind not going for near mint first ed copies of cards, because most of them, like, I play with, otherwise, like, it's kind of whatever. I'm gonna lose like possibly like 5K on this move It is fucking nuts. It is like a good chunk of my savings. It sucks. Because basically the move. Okay, so it's like 3,100 for a pod, which is kind of the best option I have. It's not that much more than getting a truck, and it's the cheapest pod option that's available to where I live. And then I found this out like this afternoon that my current complex requires a 60-day notice, which is like I'm month to month currently. It's like give me a break. So they're gonna pretty much charge me for like an additional month plus like an extra 6 days, which is like upwards of $2K. Unless someone moves in my place beforehand, but that's totally not up to me. So that's my current situation. And luckily I have like, I don't know, somewhere in like the 7K saved. So I'm going to be pretty low on savings, but I'll have more money than when I first moved here, which when I first moved here, I had about $86 in my account during the pandemic. So that was scary. The only time I ever bought singles in my life was for my ninja deck. I'm going to play one tournament. Ninjas are cool. I have a ninja deck myself. I really love ninjas. But that's kind of an older one, like from like 5 years ago. The ninja deck now is pretty good though. If you want to pick up like a new ninja deck, like all the new stuff they have on it is pretty good. Like solid rogue deck in the recent set, which I would like to pick up at some point as well. Because they have more of a game plan now. There's a lot about like using a lot of face down style effects. Very stealthy ninja, which I really like when an archetype feels like that archetype. You know what I mean? Like ninjas doing stealthy face down stuff, or sub-terrors being face down monsters, or adamanticators like digging through the deck kind of like rocks. Like I really like that kind of play style. Crystal beasts, like that's the shit I like. Remember when people bought at Ancient Leafs after rumor surfaced when there was 10,000 life points? I don't. I want to say no. I don't remember this. 10,000 life. That's something. I don't think that's ever gonna happen. If your life points 9,000 or higher, activated by paying 2,000 life points, draw 2 cards. Can I look up like a price history of this thing? 1 year. It was a $2 card in like at one point. It's kind of dropped back down. I could see that though. It only had one printing though. Like if you want to pick up some copies, might as well, I guess. Yeah, no, the apartment thing is really infuriating. So essentially it went from paying like 3K to like 5K. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like it's gonna take me like forever to like financially recover from that. Like, yeah, I saved a lot in the last like 3 years, but I've also spent a lot and stuff. But I've also grown, and I realized things that I like, things I don't like. Like I like buying Yu-Gi-Oh cards. It makes me happy. Other things I could get rid of. Like I used to collect video games. Like I don't know if any of you were on my channel when I used to do video game content, but I had a lot of video games when I used to do collecting, but now I don't. Now I don't mind getting rid of games because things are expensive. And I can only afford so many hobbies. It was during the release of Hanzo and Upstart Gold Ninja. It was like Chaos Dragon. Okay, the deck I had was like a Hanzo Upstart one. I think I had a build that also used Dark Samorg and had like what was that, like Pendulum monster, like 5 Rainbow Magician, something like that. I had a couple builds, but I think I used like a Dark Samorg kind of thing. It's a fun deck. I like the ninjas. Like it's also an affordable deck, which is a lot of decks I like. I don't spend a lot of money on decks. I know people bought them up during the times of tag duels. Yeah, maybe I'll add this to my my watch. I wish TCG Player had a better like wish list feature. I add to my cart, then I put them to save to later. Most of my time I buy cards, honestly. If it's not for a set or like specific deck, a lot of times I actually do just like buying just random shit that I could have used. So, like when I want to build a deck, I'm like, oh, I have this like weirdly generic card I could use. Like I always give myself a budget, each of my like paychecks for cards. So I'm never ideal. I'm never spending too much. Sometimes I do just buy like stuff on the outside. Like I would like to build a hero deck kind of soon. So I did recently buy a Wake Up Your Elemental hero, which I decided to buy now because I'm like, this card could go up in price, possibly. Like it's a solid card that I could see just jumping up in value. Only deck I played during the Pendulum era was Penguins, and I quit. that's that's a description if I've ever heard one. The Pendulum era was so weird. Pepe's were terrible. I do like Cleaforts. I do have a Cleafort deck. I don't know if I have any other like Pendulum decks. You know, I think no, I have like a Pendulum Magician deck. I picked up like a lot of stuff for. I don't think I ever played it because that deck's just so confusing. There are some things I like about I like how they made pendulums in the spell and trap zone. I'm always confused on this though, and maybe someone can clear this up for me. If you have like a pendulum spell trap pendulums, that's like 3 and 8. Can you pendulum summon monsters that are level 3 and 8, or does it has to be 4 to 7? Because I feel like I'm constantly hearing or seeing conflicting things on this, and it always confuses the hell out of me. I feel like the rules say that it has to be like between those numbers, but does that mean like 4 and 7, or? But then I see people play, and then it's like 3 to 8. 4 to 7. Like pendulums are the weirdest extra deck mechanic because it's not like extra decky, you know, it doesn't exist in the extra deck aside from when they're destroyed, but also doesn't really follow the rules as extra deck monsters. You swear? Okay, people are saying 4 to 7. Okay, because I feel like I watch like people duel like all the time, and it's not that, so that's why I'm always so confused. I'll probably have to like watch more and ask more about it. But like I really like Link monsters. I really like Xyz monsters. Synchros are okay. I hate just trying to count the stars because I wish it just had the number on it so I could just look at it easier. But like they all make sense, right? You know, like two monsters plus asterisk equals something. Like that's fine for me. Links are kind of weird with like the two sort of things with like the link monsters with the link number and then the materials or whatever. But yeah, pendulums are the weird ones. I think links definitely made it weird with pendulums for special summoning from the extra deck, especially now that Electromite isn't around. Like the only other kind of you got like Master Pendulums and I guess Zephyr Metaltron if you're playing that, but it's never quite where it once was, which is a little bit of a shame. But the also special pendulum summoning from the extra deck is also kind of busted pre-Link era. Yeah, exactly. Necromancer, like they felt totally different from any extra deck mechanics and everything. Like I don't know what exactly would have. Maybe if he didn't make them like an extra deck thing at all, that would have been fine because then they could just go to the graveyard and like you're like, okay, here's my thing. But I think the fact that you made them so like recurable now, like Link monsters makes it weird. Like they go in the extra deck face up, and it's so weird. Yeah, like it could have been like its own separate thing. Like it's a spell trap monster. And it had its own zones. Like, I do like the extra deck zones like they added whenever Master Rule we're currently in for links. I enjoy it. I enjoy the link summonings. It's generic enough where you could still run a deck that's like mostly like synchros or Xyz or stuff, and still be like, okay, I could, this would kind of be nice to have. People use pendulums. I don't think, not currently. I think once in a blue moon you may see a deck pop up, but I can't think of any off the top of my head. Because I know Master Pendulum has seen kind of play. Like, yeah, like magicians you see once in a blue moon. Was it Master Pendulum? Was that the monster? What's that card called? Beyond the Pendulum. That's what I'm thinking of. Beyond the Pendulum. Yeah, that card's been seeing some play in Pendulum decks. I was thinking Master of Pendulums. You did see Draco Slayer probably the most recent one with Pendulum Magicians. So Draco Slayer still sees some play, but it's very rare, kind of. There was a second place Draco Slayer deck in like December at a regional, but that's about it. It's just like the whole Link, like the whole Pendulum summoning from the extra deck really watered it down a lot, because now you need like a way more additional things. I do think like the following Master Rule that added back being able to summon extra deck monsters not being linked, but you still need to do it with pendulums. I'm okay with that, because it means you don't need to rely on links as much. So we're getting close to 20 likes. That's exciting. Like Electromite hurt. I think they could probably bring Electromite back to 1. Because, yeah, you're not seeing pendulums in any important capacity. Like, Cleaforts are fully back. Like, they're slowly bringing back Pepe stuff, but again, with, like, needing to, like, link off things for everything, it's kind of hard to do it. Like, would full power Pepe still be as powerful today as it was in, like, 2017, 2016, whenever it was? 2015? When was Pepe? Shit. So long ago. It all blurs together. Beyond the Pendulum. Beyond the Pendulum is a link monster. You can add a pendulum to the hand from your deck to your hand. But then, like, negates, like, everything else. So it's... But it works great with pendulum summoning, though. So I can see why using Draco Slayer. Because I think Draco Slayers are mostly, like, normal monsters anyway. I think. So you summon 2, pendulum summon. I have 2 monsters with different original levels, or pendulum summon at the same time to the zone it points to. You can target 2 cards if you'll destroy them. So that's not bad. You essentially get a search. You lose like a lot of pendulum effects, but you can also get 2 pops from it. So it's not terrible. Isn't Masterpiece like the one that's banned? Is that the one I'm thinking of? God, that card's expensive. A little bit. No, that's not what I'm thinking of. I think that's another card people have speculated could maybe come back one day. Yeah, Masterpiece of True Draco Slaying King. Maybe you should pick up a copy. Maybe this is my market watch video, which I don't do market watch videos, but market watches make me too frantic. I want to keep it chill on the Janjo zone. But yeah. All right. Well, with that said, I think we have finished this list. It's been a fun list. If you have any ideas for future ones, definitely, I don't know, you can let me know in the comments of this video or let me know on like Discord or something. I'm thinking maybe rituals next time, but we'll see. But yeah, thank you all for stopping by. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, rest of your week, depending on your time zone. I will try not to freak out about my monetary situation and enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh while I can. So, thanks for coming.